Once you completed lessons on the application of the 6-syllable types to read and spell words with 2 syllables, 3 syllables, or 4 syllables, you will proceed with the use of prefixes and their combination in base words to read larger words, longer words, really big words. Students will be working on prefixes that carry meaning because, as we said earlier, prefixes are morphemes and they do carry meaning. In our lessons, we are teaching prefixes based on meaning. So instead of teaching prefixes based on frequency alone or by number of syllables on the prefix or based on their origin, we organize them and we group them based on meaning. For instance, we have prefixes that mean not together in one lesson. The reasoning for this decision was to support students' understanding about the function of the prefixes and their utility. In other words, that these are morphemes that change meaning, and for the students to learn through practice and application that this, miss, un mean not. So that's why you can see they are all together in one lesson instead of teaching them separately. Therefore, disloyal refers to someone who is not loyal to someone else. As in, the cat was disloyal to her owner and sneaked away to sleep at the neighbor's house. Misunderstand, if I use that word, means not to understand. So not to make meaning of something, as in they will misunderstand this map as it has no labels, right? So misunderstand means not to be able to understand. And unclear means something that it's not clear, as in the explanation about how to make a paper plane. The figuring out how to make the paper plane was unclear. Unclear, meaning that it wasn't clear for me to follow the explanation. So you will notice that in our lessons, we follow always a bundle of prefixes. We will provide you a bundle of prefixes, and they all have the same meaning. The goal, again, is not for the students to identify it and break the word in syllables, but the goal is for the students to see that this prefix is a morpheme that changes completely the meaning of the rest of the word. So how do the lessons work? If I go to the first lesson, you will see again that we have the lesson materials that you will be using, the lesson agenda, how the agenda will go, what the lesson will look like. Then we will have the prefixes that are the focus of the day. And if you click on that video, you will go to this video explaining the lesson and how to teach the prefix lesson. But also you will have a video on the strategy in case you need a quick reminder on how to do the reading or the spelling strategy. And finally, you can watch an example of an entire video on the prefix lesson. In these smaller clips, again, if I select it, you will have access to the instruction provided by Classroom Teacher, where they are teaching exactly that segment. So you'll have these clips now for each one of the components of the lesson that you can access ahead of time if you need to.
All right, we're going to work together.
So if I were to model the lesson, I want you to listen again for my pacing and as well as my transition from one stage to the next. I will say the following. So we will work to read and spell multisyllabic words. These are often called big words. Multisyllabic words, as the term implies, have many syllables. A syllable is a unit of pronunciation that has a vowel. If I speak like a robot, I can break words into syllables. For example, in the word capital, I have capital, 3 syllables. In the word capability, I have capability, 5 syllables. A syllable needs a vowel. Today, we will work with prefixes and base words. A prefix is a part that carries meaning and appears at the beginning of a base word. A base word is a word that can stand alone in speech. The two together make new meanings. Remember, big words consist of smaller parts called syllables. If we know how to read and spell those syllables, we can read and spell multisyllabic words. We have learned the 6-syllable types. We will be flexible in their application. Remember, a syllable needs a vowel. Today, we're going to work on reading longer words that also include prefixes. A prefix changes the meaning of a base word. First, we will box the prefix. Then we will work with a base word. Remember, each syllable has a vowel, so we'll underline all the vowels, put a dot over the silent E's, and if we see consonant and lead pattern, we will underline it. Today we'll work with prefixes. A prefix, as we said, is an affix. It's a morpheme that will be at the beginning of a word. When a prefix is added to a word, it makes a new word and carries meaning. We will work with the prefixes and miss this. These are the ones that we will work on together. An means not. For example, in the word unbutton, an means not. So when added to button, it means to undo the button, not to button. This means apart from or opposite of. For example, in the word disorder, this means apart from order, the opposite of order, not in order. And listen how I said it, disorder, disorder, but I spelled it this because I know it's a prefix, this. Miss means wrong. For example, in the word mislead, miss means wrong, and the word means to lead someone to have the wrong direction. I will mislead someone if I don't know where I'm going. We will use our strategy. When we see a prefix, we will draw a box around it. Then we will have the base word. Remember, a syllable needs a vowel. When we have a vowel team, we underline the vowel team. When we have a VCE syllable, we underline the vowel that says its name and place a dot on the silent E. When we see the consonant plus Li, we underline it. When we see compound words, we look for the word parts. We should be flexible when working with syllables and read the word with a prefix and the base word. We should be thinking of the meaning of a word when working with a prefix and how the meaning of the base word changes. So we will now practice reading words. I need to read this word. I will use my strategy. I will box the prefix an, and I will underline the vowel E. I see one vowel and have one syllable in the base word. The word is undress. Undress. Undress will mean the opposite of to dress. So to take off clothes. You sometimes have to address at the doctor's office. Undress. I will try another word. This word is I will use my strategy. I will box the prefix miss and I will underline the vowel E. I have one vowel, one syllable in the base word. The word is misstep. Miss means wrong, so this word means the wrong step. I don't want to make a misstep at dance class. I will have one more for you. I will use my strategy. I will box my prefix this. The base has one vowel, you, and I have one syllable. The word is distrust. This means not to trust, the opposite of trust. She told one of my secrets, and now I have reasons to distrust her. Distrust. After this, the teacher will continue with the modeling of the words. I want to point out to you that after completing each one of the words, I use the word in a sentence. It is important that you do not skip this part, that you do use the word in a sentence. So the students will see the function, the utility of the word. So they understand the function of the prefix in the word, in the base word, but also the use of that word in the context of a sentence. So we are supporting meaning. At the same time, I will urge you not to try to create your own sentences. The reasoning for this is that when you try at the moment to create sentences, the sentence may take longer time for you to retrieve it. As a result, you're affecting the time of the instruction and your instructional delivery. It's very likely you will not finish the lesson. Second, if you try that moment to create a sentence, the sentence you may create may be one that the students may not be able to understand. So that will affect, again, the instructional delivery and the completion of your lesson. So please make sure, one, that you use the sentences, always a sentence for the words you provide, and then secondly, that you are using sentences that we have included in the lessons. After this, the teacher will go with the modeling. We'll continue with modeling. We have the first set of 5, If your students at the end of the weeks fail in the progress monitor, then you will go and teach the second set of 5. Otherwise, you will always continue with the first set of 5. You will see that we provide, again, the same language, so you know exactly how to complete the task. And after this, the students will work with you. And finally, the students will work independently. So they will work on their own to decipher these words. After this task, you will work on the spelling of words. And this is how I will model for you the spelling. Reading and writing are connected. If we can read words, we can also figure out how to spell them. If we know syllables, we can also check our spelling. I want to spell the word miscalculate. I will say the syllables, miscalculate. I will speak like a robot. Miscalculate. I have 4 syllables. I hear miss. That's a prefix. I hear the prefix miss and the base calculate. I will try now to spell the syllables. Miss, calculate. Calculate. I need to add the E because I hear A. So the E is quiet, is silent. Very good. So now I will examine the vowels and the syllables for the base word and think about the meaning. Miss, I said that it means wrong. Miss, miscalculate. Miscalculate. Actually, the word calculate comes from Latin, and it comes from the word calculus, which was a pebble on an abacus, and it was used for calculations, right? So calculate. When we added 3 and 5 and got 9, I think he miscalculated. Miscalculate, to calculate wrong. Now I want to spell the word dissimilar, and then the teacher will continue. The strategy again is written up and it's applied for you to follow it. After this task, the students will write the words, they will spell the words, and then they will check together. The teacher will write the word, the students will have the finger on the first word, and the teacher will write the word and explain the way that it was spelled. After this task, they will work on sentences. We are learning to read and spell words so we can become more accurate in reading and spelling words in sentences. I will dictate to you a sentence, and I would like you to write the words in the sentence. Listen, we will uncover the truth and avoid disorder. We will uncover the truth and avoid disorder. So the teacher repeats the entire sentence. Make sure you read the whole sentence so the students learn the whole, not to learn the sentence, but to learn to hold in their working memory the whole sentence. Because again, we are working with meaning, not just with word by word decoding or encoding in this case. So after the students now will complete this, then the teacher will check with the students the reading, the words. So the reading of the sentence, but first the teacher will check with them that they wrote the sentence correctly. So the teacher will write, this is the sentence. We will uncover, I hear the prefix, uncover the truth and avoid disorder. This, I know that this order. So this is the sentence, and I'll put a period at the end because that signifies the end of my sentence. We will uncover the truth and avoid disorder. And the students will correct their sentence in this case. If there is a mistake that the student made and cannot understand why, the teacher will model it that moment. At the very end, the teacher and the students will reread the sentence together, and that is for fluency. So let's read it together. We will, Coralie, ready, begin. We will uncover the truth and avoid disorder. Disorder, but I spelled this because I know that's a prefix. You were not tricked. Let's move on. And I move on. Again, I want to point out to you the pace. It is not that I just go fast. I go fast, but I go purposefully, and I have intention in the lesson. I will point out things that it's very important for students to apply and for students to learn. And that will be the lesson on prefixes that you will be using with your students.